Yeah, and then hold on. Compose yourself.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm joined by Harrison, who you would have seen in the latest video, the Vic High Country. I don't even remember what I titled it. Something, a punishing 5-day motorcycle adventure. So if you haven't watched that one, go watch that one first, and then come back here for the debrief, which we're going to do now. And on that adventure, it wasn't just Harrison that I was joined by. It was also Lance, aka the Apprentice Adventurer, and Josh JB. So they joined us on that trip, and they only just got home now. So how far removed are we from the trip? How many days has it been?
6 days, I think. Yeah.
6.
Because we came back Wednesday. No. 5.
Yeah, Wednesday. 5 days. Yeah.
5 days, yeah.
The face is healed a bit. Foot feels better, so yeah. All right, so we're going to start off by talking about kind of the issues that we ran into, and going by the title of the video, you would have thought, you know, it was a disaster, which it was, but in terms of the bikes, they held up pretty well. We ran into a couple of issues. Thankfully, I think the WR was smooth sailing.
Yep.
Actually, no, not really an issue of the bike, but I smashed the clutch perch, so the clutch is in a completely terrible position. Don't know when that happened, but I'll need to fix that before the next one. Mm-hmm. The 690, what do we have there?
A couple of minor issues, just because of my own actions though. One of them was heading back down Billy Goat's Bluff. Accidentally, because I turned the bike off for a bit, and then I left the ignition on. So the battery just went dead.
And the high beam, I reckon that's...
And accidentally flicked the high beam on as well.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to the bottom of the hill, it was dead, so we just had to do a bit of a push to get it going again, but then...
What was interesting about that one though is it didn't hold charge. Like, we push started it fired up, and then a second later it just died.
Yeah.
So I needed to give it a good hammering to get it to get some charge, and for the rest of the trip it was fine.
It started up straight away afterwards. So after you rode up and down a little bit after I pushed you, then then it was fine.
Got it going, and then the other one, which was in the video, that was the throttle.
Yeah, that's right. So it was just, I don't even know what happened exactly. It was just one of the hills. I dropped the bike on the side, and then the throttle, when you pulled it back, wasn't snapping back.
Which it happened at the bottom of like a pretty steep hill. So
or halfway up a steep hill.
Yeah. Which we needed to get that sorted, because there's no way, like, you need to be able to modulate to be able to get up that one.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal in the end. Once we were able to loosen up the edge of the bark buster, then just yank the throttle a little bit, then it worked. So I don't know if there was just like a bit of dirt, I reckon, when I dropped on the side. It had to have...
Because I've had that happen before as well, where it would return, but it was very stiff, and again, it was bark buster, but you could kind of visually see that it was pushed up.
This wasn't...
But this one, it didn't look like that.
I reckon it must have been from the inside, I reckon.
Yeah, because they mushroom out. So.
Yeah, but
we got that sorted though.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad once we're able to loosen the bark buster and pull it a little bit. But
yeah, other than that, no other bike issues, like nothing major. The only other issue was rider skill. And yeah, as you see in the video, the skill was lacking in some parts, but yeah, we'll work on that. All right, so next up, we'll just talk about some of the tracks that we hit. Two of them probably that probably deserve a mention, which the main event being Billy Goat's Bluff, or Billy Goat Bluff, as I've been told. What did you think of getting to the helipad? Like, you know, you've seen all the videos on it. You know, it's kind of blown up as, you know, being this crazy hard track. What did you think of that, getting to the helipad?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty hard. I mean, you had to keep, not insanely hard, but it was like you had to keep momentum. And you had to at least be decent at hill climbs.
Yeah.
For anyone who's going to try it, I would just say, don't be like me and make sure you're not rusty. I hadn't ridden before this trip in quite a while due to injuries. So just, if you've done a fair amount of hill climbs in your time and you're not rusty, give it an attempt. But if you're a rider, I just wouldn't even, you could try it, but like, I wouldn't bother.
Like, even just the helipad. I said it the first time that I did, when I came down it, I was on my own. I even said that the helipad was no joke. But going up it, when you're at the bottom of the hill, you're looking at it, and when you watch videos beforehand, it's like, it doesn't look that bad, but unless you've recorded footage of yourself riding and then watched it back, and you just don't understand how the GoPro flattens it out, because even the helipad, or getting to the helipad, is insanely steep.
It was a bit rockier than and more like little step ups and stuff than I thought there would be.
And I reckon something that changed and the conditions, and why I thought it was probably more difficult than last time, and validated by a lot of the forward drivers that we came across, and even Lance. Yeah, he said it was twice as hard. But one thing I noticed was that there was a top layer of silt. It was very dusty. Like, do you see that crash the first time I came off going on the helipad? When I landed, there was just an explosion of dust. Whereas last time I was there, it was still quite, it just rained like 2 days prior, zero dust, and I felt like I had more grip. Granted, I was going down, so it's hard to assess, but felt like I had way more grip. So I don't want to say that, you know, we did it when it was the most challenging, but I reckon it was definitely tougher. And getting to that helipad, that stuff was still loose.
It seemed like it got dustier as the day went on, and it got hotter as well, because when we were coming back down, and then even on the roads going back to town, it just seemed like it was dustier. It was
dusty, and it was hot, as you probably saw from the video, with my face bloody sweating everywhere. It was extremely hot. But I guess, what I can add, having then attempted to get to the summit, is that it's not that much more difficult than the helipad, but the things that make it different is the length. So the helipad is probably maybe 1/3, so the two extra thirds to get to the top is longer. It's probably just as steep, I'd say. Like, the steepness doesn't change too much, but the actual surface is just way more chopped up. You got like a rock garden section, which, you know, feels like a Erzberg rodeo. Like from that, obviously the rocks aren't as big, but you're just getting thrown around. There's that section, and then just the step ups. Like, it's got quite a lot larger step ups. But yeah, so like, definitely, everyone says it, is if you can't do the helipad, or if you're not confident, don't even think about doing the rest of it. Maybe after I had that crash, I probably, like, on the helipad, I probably should have said, maybe not today. But yeah, it's honestly no joke, and not for the faint of hearted. Like, you really want to be confident in your skills, which I was up until my arm, like the arm pump hit me. Like, it was something I never experienced. I really hit the wall, and I'm quite fit, but I'm not bike fit in the sense of I've been doing a crazy amount of hill climbs leading up to this. So it's just something I've got to work on, and hopefully in the near future we get it done.
For sure.
I think that's up. It's good because Billy Goats doesn't close. It's open year round. So we'll be back for sure. Maybe not this year. We'll see. We've got another big trip coming up, which Harrison's going to be coming along on. We're going to do the Simpson Desert, but we'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, just to close out Billy Goats Bluff, I'll sum it up. It's bloody technical, difficult, and yeah, you just want to be confident going into it. The other track we'll talk about was actually a highlight for me, was the Haunted Stream track.
Yeah, it was real fun.
That was such a nice, good level of difficulty, and quite scenic. And for yourself, that was like the first time you really did any creek crossings.
Yeah, that was great fun. For anyone who hasn't done much creek crossings, I reckon it's a good intro, because there's a bunch of them.
You're doing 50 of them.
They're not too deep, and the track was just awesome fun. You could just kind of go from crossing to crossing and go through them all, and nothing was too hard, but introduce you to it, and it's great fun.
Yeah, like one thing I liked about it was there was maybe only a couple of the crossings where you probably could have drowned the bike because of how deep it was.
Yeah.
The rest were, you know, if you dropped it, the bags would have kept it up enough so that you didn't drown the bike unless you got really unlucky. So there was only a couple where you had to be cautious, but it was quite clear as well. So it was quite easy to see if there was any large rocks, again, other than some of those longer ones. But, you know, it's good to have a little bit of a challenge, and I felt like that one was at a level where you're not stressing out like crazy, but you can have some fun with it. You can go a little bit of speed through some of the crossings, but yeah, overall, awesome track, good views.
It's the kind of track I think that you don't have to be like that skilled to try. So anyone going in the area, you know, with a bit of dirt riding experience, you can just go and have fun and try it out, and yeah, they'll probably have fun with it. It's not like Billy Goat's, where it's quite hard. That one you can kind of just enjoy and not really stress about anything. And
it's a different kind of skill. Different. There was maybe one hill climb coming out of one of the creeks where you had to be on the pegs and controlling the bike. But I mean, just to get there, I think there was there a hill climb? No,
there was a few downhills, descents.
A few descents to get there, but if you're somewhat confident in doing some climbs, you'll be fine. And yeah, you'll have some fun on that track. So
would you have taken a T7? That's there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we took the T7s through some pretty challenging single track in the past.
But you would consider taking a T7?
I would consider taking
but you wouldn't consider doing the Billy Goat?
No way. I don't know how. My hat off to people that take big adventure bikes up Billy Goats, because, man, I couldn't do it on the WR, so a little WR. I'd be so worried, like, about not hurting the bike. Like, the bikes can take it, but just hurting yourself, like a 220 kilo bike coming down. When I had to lift it up, the bike, there was one of the crashes where the bike toppled with the handlebars, and it was sideways on the hill, but the tank was facing down that way. And once I had to do that on the T7, and it was damn near the hardest lift I've ever done in my life. And I bloody deadlifted 260 kilos, and that was harder than that deadlift that I did. So if I had to do that on the T7, I couldn't do it in my current state. No way.
I almost feel like with the lighter bikes, you can try a hill that you don't know if you can complete, because if you do fall off, you pick it up and you keep going.
Yes.
Whereas with the bigger bikes, I feel like you want to be pretty confident you're going to make it up, because you don't want to be stopping and picking up
100%
times, trying to rearrange it. So.
And that's the thing, because I'd never gone up Billy Goat, and I haven't really done long climbs like that. So yeah, I don't think I'd even attempt it unless I'd done a lot of riding. But you know, we did have the T7s. We took it through single track, which was quite technical, but nothing crazy like Billy Goat. So yeah, if you've got a bigger adventure bike and you're quite confident in your skills, definitely give Haunted Stream Track a go, because it's just an awesome, nice track, and
scenic a little bit as well.
Yeah,
like
very scenic.
Yeah.
And then we'll definitely build up your creek crossing skills, because yeah, there's 50 plus of them. So yeah, give it a crack. So the next thing, I mentioned before with Billy Goats that I was suffering arm pump, and if you watch the video, I think Harrison, you were also getting a bit of cramping on the first day of hitting the off-road tracks, and it was definitely a learning for me, and probably for yourself, that it's good to take breaks. Like, even if you don't need to at the time, you're not feeling like you need to, if you've just done a big climb, like take 5-10 minutes to recover. Otherwise, you kind of just hit a wall. And for me, like, when I was doing Billy Goat, I felt really confident in my skills. I wasn't feeling crazy arm pump, but everything just went downhill all of a sudden. And the GoPro did something wrong, or I must have hit the button twice and it didn't capture it. But there was a hill climb I was doing, one of the climbs on Billy Goat, and it will probably be in Lance's video. I think he was recording at the time, but I was getting near the top, and my arms just started giving out, and I started moving further and further away from the bars, almost to the point where I had to sit down because I couldn't hold myself up. And then everything went downhill. I crashed off into the side of a tree. Lance had to come down and push me up. And then after that, it was just more crashes or more drops. And I reckon part of it was because I kind of didn't stop. I just kept going. Yep. I'd stop and muscle the bike up if I dropped it, but then kept going. And had I maybe rested, maybe I would have got to the top. Maybe I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have been as fatigued. And I would have made better line choices. But yeah, it just got to the point where my arms wouldn't work. Yeah, have you got? What are your thoughts around that?
No, I totally agree. But I think furthermore to that point, I think sometimes if you've been riding all day and you get to a point where you're, even after doing easy riding, your arms are still just too fatigued, or like me, sometimes I feel like I can't open my fingers.
Yeah, I've had that.
After a long day of riding, especially if you haven't got the rider fitness, if you haven't been riding much recently, which I hadn't, where if you get to the point where you can't open your fingers or it's hard, then at that point, don't go and try another hard track or anything like that, which is which we pulled off on the first day.
We made the decision, as you probably saw in the video, and in Lance's day one, that we made the decision to pull off before hitting the Dedic trail. But as you saw in Lance's video, Josh was actually having trouble with cramping and running into problems there. So I think it was a good call to pull off, because up to that point, you know, we'd already done quite a lot of hill climbs and it was quite a big day. So yeah, like I think with these longer multi-day adventures, you need to know when to pull back and have a rest or miss that track if you're not feeling it. And I think that this conversation flows on well to the next topic we're going to talk about, which is knowing when to quit. Because I think you made a really good decision.
Not to do the Dedic at the end.
Because I reckon, to be honest, I was feeling pretty good up until that point. Obviously, I've been riding recently a lot more than Harrison because he's had injuries. So my rider fitness was feeling pretty good. But I think I probably definitely would have ran into, just looking at Lance's video and how Josh was struggling, I reckon I would have had the same issues. Yep. So I think Harrison made a really good choice to not go ahead with doing that. And I think I made a bad choice when I was on Billy Goat. After I said it in the video, there was one fall where I just knew I was pretty much gassed, and I said I probably should quit. But then I'm like, you know what, we'll do one more, and if I drop it, then I'll go back down. All it took was that one more to then, you know, smash my face in, potentially could have broken my foot. I reckon if I didn't have those Garnet SG12s, I probably would have, because I have broken them in the past wearing the Alpine Start Tech 3s. And yeah, that was just a terrible injury. And that's why I was so pissed off in the video. You would have seen, I'm swearing my head off. I was just completely demoralized because I thought potentially I'd broken my foot again.
Well, that's how you heard it the first time. It was the end of the day, you were tired. Yeah. So then your technique you started sitting down on the pegs maybe instead of standing.
No, well, that one I was standing, but I was being lazy. I was it was a downhill and there was a rock, and I wasn't leaning back on the downhill, so all of the weight was just on the front of the handlebar, and it just deflected. So again, that's another learning, and I obviously didn't learn from my mistakes. So hopefully you guys do. But no, I'll definitely learn. Like when Harrison pulled off there, it was a good decision, and I think in the future I'll probably be better with that. Definitely a learning, and I think part of that actually kind of spurs on for the next topic that I had, which was riding in a group. It's something that I've done quite a bit. For yourself, not too often really. Usually it's either. I
went on like 2 enduro group rides years ago.
Yeah.
But other than that, pretty much none.
And I think part of that comes down to different riding styles and how you're gonna meld, I guess, as a riding group. Because for me personally, I actually don't mind taking breaks, and how do I describe it? Like, I'm not all about like, you know, go, like constantly. I've ridden with others that are, but I don't mind doing it. Like, I'll do it if it has to be done 100%. And there is benefits to it because you just get so much more done. But like I said, I don't mind taking a break here and there. And I think part of, I guess, on Billy Goats, why I kept pushing was I don't want to make the boys wait. Like, kind of subconsciously, I'm like, I got to keep up. Like, these guys ahead of me, I got to keep up. And I reckon that probably played into not taking those rests. Whereas I think if it was just me and yourself, we probably would have stopped at like a washout. You know, had 10 minutes recover. But that's just something that I probably need to improve on. Is that if I need the break, just take the damn break. Like, don't try and keep up for no reason and then get yourself hurt.
I was just gonna add on to that it's hard because I think it's better to some extent riding with someone better than you, because you can see how they do it and try it after them, give you the confidence to try something maybe that you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, you have to ride at your own pace as well, because at that same time you don't want to then have to try and keep up with them if, you know, you are too fatigued or it is too challenging. So I always feel like you got to choose, I suppose, when you might want to ride with someone who potentially is a little bit better, or maybe just pick certain tracks to do with them and then let them go off and you do easier tracks afterwards, just so that you get to try something new, try something harder with someone maybe that can teach you something or help you along, but then do something easier for maybe the rest of the day or rest of the ride or something like that, so that you don't hurt yourself trying to keep up or trying to do something that you don't have the ability to do.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. All right, that's kind of touched on the points that I had jotted down. I wanted to move into a Q&A portion now, and it actually, the question that was asked relates to what we just discussed around riding with a group, and it was from Scotty3608, and he asked, did you think you felt rushed or did you allow enough time? And to get to the high country, do you trailer your bikes or ride blacktop from Melbourne? So we'll actually answer the second one first. We rode the blacktop from Melbourne. Kind of sucked because it wore down our rears a little bit because we're both running enduro tyres. We'll touch on that as well because someone asked about the tyres. But in terms of do you think you felt rushed or did you allow enough time? Going into the trip, I didn't actually plan it. It was the other boys, I think mostly Josh, JB, but we were very adaptable from the get-go. We said that, we planned a pretty crazy loop trying to tackle some of the toughest tracks that the Vic High Country had to offer. But we always knew that, we might have to pull away, might miss tracks. So I didn't feel rushed in that sense because we knew that was going to be the case. But like I was talking about in the group conversation, when you are riding in a group, you do feel like you don't want to take that rest or you don't want to take a long break because you don't want the other guys waiting for you. So in that sense, maybe I felt a little bit rushed, and more of it's probably subconscious as well. It's like, just keep pushing. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I didn't feel pressure riding in a group other than pressure on yourself to try and not waste any time. I mean, I don't feel like I didn't take breaks when I needed it. Like I said, that first day I'd have said, nah, I'm done. So we didn't do the Dedic. And then with the Billy Goats, I said, you go for it, I'm done for this track or whatever. But so I didn't personally feel it, but at the same time, I didn't want to, maybe there would have been, Dedic track, we would have tried it if not for wanting to potentially hold up Josh or Lance. I think I mentioned to you, because I was so fatigued, if we get halfway up and I do need the rest because I'm already ruined, you don't want to hold them up because they want to get all the way to somewhere else. So a little bit not because of them,
but because
self-inflicted pressure. I guess
I'm the same. All right, next one. Motorcycle expert asked, any technical problems with the bike? We kind of touched on the problems, but there was nothing technical. They were all little things. But yeah, nothing major, nothing engine-wise.
No. Bikes were fine.
We did, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but we did 1,500 kilometers all up, I believe.
About that, maybe slightly over,
Maybe slightly over, because we obviously rode up from Melbourne, so some big freeway Ks, but no major technical problems. And Jamie Knight 9636 asked, what's your go-to rear tyre for the WR? I'm thinking about going back to a D606. We'll actually touch on both bikes' tyres, but I, in the past, have mostly run the MT21, the Pirelli MT21 front and the D606 rear. Been super happy with that, but when you've run it a few times, you kind of want to try something different. So I have run like a Michelin something enduro tyre before this, but I wasn't too happy with that. But the tyres that I've got on now are the Motoz Enduro ITs, both front and rear, and I loved them. They were really good tyres. Probably liked them more than the MT21 D606 combo. The only problem is they wear out a lot faster. The front, I reckon that will actually last, maybe 5,000 Ks. We'll have to see. I'll probably make a video on them. They didn't actually wear down that much, but I reckon you're probably pushing it to get to 5,000 just based on the initial wear. The rear is pretty chewed up. At 1,500, people will probably be changing it. I reckon I can get a couple more rides, maybe a couple day rides in, but 2,000, and based on my research, is probably the limit on that rear, which, the D606 blows that out of the water. You can get 3 times that amount easily if you wanted. So yeah, love the D606 MT21. May run that for the Simpson trip, given it's about 5,000 Ks for us. But I might also take a look at the Desert HT Rail Z combo. So maybe Harrison could touch on the Desert HT because you're running that on the front, and then we'll talk about what you're doing on the rear. But what did you think about the Desert HT?
Yeah, the Desert HT front. This is just for context, this is my first dual sport. The only other front tire that's been on this that I've tried is this Pirelli Scorpion Rally. But yeah, the Desert HT was good. No complaints from my point of view. It seemed to grip well on the downhills. It's barely worn at all.
Doesn't look like it's worn at all, really.
Yeah, it's barely worn. It did feel a bit weird when I just got it put on. First on the freeway, the first 50 Ks, 100 Ks.
I forgot to mention that. I noticed the same thing. The first 100 Ks probably, it felt very squirrely on the road, but not like it's slipping, but it just felt very squirrely. So I think the edges just needed to round off a little bit, but after that it was fine.
Actually, I don't know if it was my confidence in the tires or what, but I actually felt like as the trip went on, they felt a little bit better. I think I mentioned to you, just seemed to grip a little bit better. So maybe the 500 or 1,000 kilometer mark, it started feeling even a little bit better for me. But yeah, I had plenty of grip downhill. And
you reckon you're going to run that for the Simo?
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's been no complaints with it so far. We'll see how many kilometers we get from now till the Simo and how they wear. But yeah, I feel like I could definitely use these ones. Yeah, and then... hold on. Brace yourself.
All right, so the rear tyre, there was a bit of fluffing around because you were meant to be on the Rail Z, but ended up, what's the tyre you got on?
Euro Enduro.
The Motos.
Motos Euro Enduro, I think it's called.
Euro 6.
Enduro 6, yeah.
I'd never heard of it until you mentioned it.
Never heard of it. The screw around, it was supposed to be the rally, but then he didn't have a rally, and because hold on. So it was supposed to be the rally, and then when I got there, let the guy put the new tire on, and he put the wrong one on, and he didn't have a rally.
So then, was right leading up, like it was like
a few
day or
days
two before this.
So tried to get a rally and didn't get in time, so just had to use this. In terms of performance, it did okay. Like you would expect like a lot more because it's an enduro tire. It seemed okay. It did the job. I didn't think it was
didn't wear very well though.
Didn't wear very well. I think I mentioned to you there was like 11 millimeters of tread depth in the middle at the beginning, and now 1,500 kilometers in that. 1,500 kilometers later, there's 6.5 millimeters.
And it's pretty much at the wear indicators.
Yeah.
So 1,500 meters, 1,500 kilometers, and you pretty much cooked it.
Yeah, it doesn't last.
We did have luggage on it. It's a 690, so you kind of got more of that power to rip it up. But based on your experience, do you think you'd run it again?
I wouldn't recommend it for someone with a 690. Just like it was fine, but considering how fast it wore, I didn't think it was particularly amazing. It was fine. It did the job, but...
Yeah. So if you're interested in the Euro 6, maybe give it a shot, but...
maybe on your dirt bike. If you got a dirt bike, maybe not a dual sport or wear out real quick, but...
Yeah. I think, like I said, Rail Z, we want to give it a shot. I think we'll both run that for the Simpson, but in terms of... Back to the main question, the D606, I love that tyre. I probably will run it again in the future at some point, I'm sure. But for now, I'm just trying a few different things, and we'll see how that goes. Goods3198, he asked, just wondering what sprockets you run on the WR250R for best performance on and off-road. I've tried a few different combos, so the stock 1343 I got rid of pretty much straight away. Like it was pretty much pure road gearing. So unless you only do gravel roads and freeway stuff, you want to move off of that one straight away. So the first time I went to 1348, and that felt really good. It was more enduro-like. Still could do the highways, freeways fine, revving out a little bit more, but you had way more low down, and the first gear just felt so much better doing the tough stuff. So I ran that for a long time up until the Outback trip, because for that one, we were sitting on high speeds for a long time. In Melbourne, it was a 5,000 kilometer trip, or 4,500. So it was a lot of Ks. So for that one, I went to 1449. So that was kind of an in-between. It felt really good for the open, sandy, whoopy sections. You're doing sand hill climbs where you're still on the power. You're not really you don't have to feather the clutch or anything. You're not doing that slow speed stuff. And on the freeways, yeah, you could ring it out and sit at 110 all day without issues, which 1348 you could, but you just felt like you were abusing the bike and that the piston was just going to smash through the head. But I then took that gearing in a high country ride. Oh, it wasn't really high country. Where did we go? That was Strathbogies. We went that ride. I was running the 1449 and I was just stalling out on the tough hill climbs. I just didn't like it for the really technical stuff. So then I went 1349, so even more off-roadable. But the thing is I went with a taller rear tire. So it actually, when you use the calculations, it actually ends up being pretty damn close to a 1348. So I think in future, 1348 for your more dual sport riding, day riding, and tackling the tough stuff. And 1449 works pretty well for the kind of trip that we did. I think I probably will run that for the Simo, maybe 1450. I don't know. I still not decided, but hopefully that was helpful. I think the best thing to do is actually just try the different configurations yourself and see which one you like most. Next question, Anthony Horgos. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I was a little concerned. Yeah, we probably were with the thumbnail was a bit dramatic, but thankfully I'm all good. Do you think you've outgrown the WR, and is it time for an upgrade like a 690? Interesting. I don't think outgrown.
Upgrade isn't. I don't think it's the right term.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right term because it just depends on the kind of riding. Like, yeah, it's down on power, but for tackling the technical stuff, you don't need that extra power. So in terms of is it limiting my riding ability, I don't think so at all. Especially with the Technic suspension, I feel like I can kind of smash anything that I want. In terms of would I want to upgrade, I think it's always nice to have more power and
try something new. But I've said that in the past that I want to hit 100,000 kilometers on this bike, and I will. I reckon I will. But in terms of, do I think it'd make me a better rider on a new bike? Absolutely not. It's just more time on the same bike, you're always going to get better. And, it's maybe 5% bike, 95% rider. Like, yeah, probably, someone like Graham Jarvis could take this through his enduro, Erzberg rodeo if he wanted to. Obviously, he'll be faster on a KTM 300 or a lightweight enduro bike. But yeah, I don't think it definitely isn't limiting me. Yes, more power, especially on the freeways, would be nice. Like as you see when we're trying to overtake, like I have to set myself up and gear down and get in a bit of a tuck. Whereas a 690, whatever gear you're in, you just power off. But I like that it's light, easy to pick up, as you saw in the video. Even on the worst angle possible, I'm able to lift it up myself. You've got a low first gear, like you said, upgrade to a 690, but a 690's got a really tall first gear.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned before about stalling, that's way better. It will go way lower speed in first gear with the wide ratio gear.
So if you wanted to do the more technical tough stuff, I probably am better suited off on the WR, but
just compromise. I feel like like with all dual sport.
I feel like if you're doing big trips and say you want to do like the Cape, the Simo, and like all those iconic stuff, take it to Tasmania, you probably are better off on a 690 because you're doing a lot of road riding and all of that. And also, if you like doing flowy stuff, I reckon the 690 is better. Like, you got the power to send it over the washouts and stuff, and it's fun. But yeah, back to the question: do I think it's limiting me? I don't think so.
Maybe we'll have to do a swap bikes and you did that one on the road, but we'll do an off-road and then
just a comparison. Like, even if we just do a circuit, like a little loop or
like a medium level track, and
just see how it, like, first thoughts. And I don't know about timing it, because then you're kind of introducing like pushing it, but just thoughts and go like that. Because I did do a video with Harrison in the past where I rode it on the road, but I haven't ridden it off-road. So maybe that's a future idea. So thanks for the question. I didn't thank anyone else for the questions, but thank you.
Interesting that people just assume because the bike's more expensive,
That it's, yeah.
more powerful, it's a quote unquote upgrade, which, you know what it is? I think in a lot of cases with road bikes, I feel like that always
is the case.
the case that, you know, if you get the newer shiny thing, sure, it's an upgrade. But with dual sports and off-road, it's not the case, because just getting more power or whatever doesn't mean it's better.
No, it all depends. I reckon it all depends on the type of riding that you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to do even more technical than this, you can go KTM 500 or CRF 450 RL. Or if you wanted something a little bit more roadable, a little bit more roadable, but still be able to tackle something technical, go for an 890. So you've got so many options in this segment that you just got to find what works for you. And yeah, I love the WR. Hopefully it serves me well, and hopefully it reaches 100,000 without any problems. I'll answer NW Adventures. You gave a couple of questions. I'll answer one of them, and that was how much range does the 250 get? And we'll probably talk about the 690 as well, but I've never run it dry, so I don't know exactly, but based on what the riding that I've done and how much is left when I fill up, and also what's online, I do believe I can eke out 350 Ks. That's a combination of road and off-roading. Maybe you can stretch it a little bit further if you're doing road but not ringing it out. But 350 is where I'd be, you know, thinking, crap, I need to fill up. What about the 690? Because you're not running just the stock tank. You've got.
It's got the Raid Garage extra tank that goes under the seat. Replaces the stock airbox with like a smaller airbox as well. I think that equates to a total between both tanks of around 19 litres, I believe. I reckon I get a little bit more kilometres than you, probably, based on how much was left.
Because just on that, I've got 14 litres, so 19, 250cc versus 690.
Yeah, it depends though, right? Because I think when we're on the freeway, particularly where I wasn't revving the bike and it's just cruising along, it seemed like you use more comparatively fuel to the 690 because it's just low RPM, just cruising.
Yeah.
But when you got off-road, I think they were more comparable when I'm revving the bike more.
Yeah, I think every time we stopped and filled up and assessed how much we used, I think I was always maybe like half a litre to a litre more. So I think that was the case.
Oh, no, I think the 690 still used a little bit more.
Oh, how much we had left.
How much we had left. I think 690 usually had a bit more range, so maybe 350 to 400, I'd say.
I reckon, based on our testing, 350 to 400 for the 690 with the Raid Garage, and with the Safari, 300 to 350. There was the option to get the IMS tank, which is 18 litres. The reason I didn't go for that is that there's only very few applications where I need 400 to 450, and you know, that being the Simpson. So I didn't go with the IMS. For one, I didn't need that range really. Two, it was actually double the price. And three, I like to use this bike still as like an enduro bike as well. So having a larger tank, even though I don't think it's as wide, I don't know how they get the extra weight, the extra litres, but I don't think it's as wide, or it's just as wide. But I just don't need it if I'm using it as an enduro bike as well, and I'm not going to fill it up the full 18 litres. So the other thing, Safari is Australian, so I want to support an Australian company. People said they had issues with it leaking, but then other people say they have more issues with the IMS. So I'll tell you now, I've dropped this bike with this tank a lot, and it's a bit scratched up, but no leaking, no issues. Pretty easy to install, and about 350 Ks of range. So
one of the things I love as well is you can actually see your fuel level.
I keep saying I want to mark out. I've got to empty it and mark out 5 litres, 10 litres, 5, 10, and then I don't need to do it with full, but just so I know roughly, and I really hope that it does pick up right from the bottom, because I haven't tested it right to the bottom. It uses, when installing it, I had to cut into the vacuum line, so it uses the vacuum to suck from the bottom of the wings. I think riding with Tom actually said he was having an issue with his Safari where it wasn't working properly, but he ended up fixing it or something. But as long as you've installed it correctly, it should work. But I know I've definitely run it to the point where it needs to pick up from the wings, but from quite high up. I just don't know right at the bottom. But all kind of bikes that have extended tanks like this run into that problem. I remember watching Keith Jobson with the KTM 500. I know he, on his Simpson trip, had to constantly lean the bike over because it would die because it wasn't using the fuel from the bottom or from one side of the tank or something, which I haven't had to resort to that. But yeah, so far so good. And yeah, back onto the original question, about 350. All right, guys, well, that kind of wraps up the debrief. I hope some of the points that we talked about are helpful for yourself and for your own adventure riding. Like I said, Simpson Desert, that's the next one that we're planning. We don't have a set date for it yet. We're going to be a little bit flexible, that's the right one. We're flexible with the timing just based on the conditions, because it can be very hit and miss with when you can go, depending on if it's rained and how much water there is and if tracks are closed. So I think anywhere between June and August, we're going to try and hit it and be ready for that. So in the lead up to that, we'll have a few videos about kind of the gear and stuff, and definitely a shakedown ride.
Big desert?
Yeah, big desert. We're going to do big desert and little desert, probably for a 3-dayer, two nights. Load up the bikes in Simpson spec and go out there and smash it, because you've never taken never taken the 690 on sand.
Yeah. Barely ridden any sand.
Let alone fully loaded.
Haven't done googs.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm even kind of not excited, but it's going to be interesting carrying even more additional weight, or dead weight, because the fuel, it just sucks. So I've got to come up with a solution, or we've got to come up for a solution what the most optimal way to carry the fuel is. Like, we'll probably need some on the back, but I'm thinking maybe some side tank panniers or something. But yeah, we'll probably do a video talking about what we end up going with. We'll probably run pretty similar setups, since we both need to carry. I think you're going to carry close to 40. I'll be taking 35. And we'll be joined by my brother on that one, who did the Googs trip with me. So he'll be coming on his trusty CRF 250L, and he'll probably we'll probably all run a very similar setup. So make sure you subscribe, guys, because that adventure is happening. It's going to come up pretty quickly, but I'll catch you guys in the next video.